Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're an esthetician, solo practitioner, nurse injector, a Medspa owner, or if you're a marketing agency and you want to steal some tips and tricks, welcome, you're in the right place once again. This is a masterclass in objections for med spas. And so why objections are actually buy signals and how to handle them. This video is hopefully going to show you the 4 biggest categories of objections so that next time you encounter them, you can recognize them and see them for what they are. Objections are not the end of the road. They're actually the beginning of the road. It's something that you should not hope to not find ever again. It's something that you fully expect to encounter and you prepare for it so that you're fully equipped to handle them. The Medspa partners that we work with who are generating 20, 30, 40, 50K in new revenue every single month are the ones who are nerding over these concepts and who love the challenge of figuring out how to close another objection, how to reframe and a limiting belief in a prospect in a way that's mutually beneficial, because sales looked at from a right lens is essentially coaching and consulting the patient to achieve what they want. Oftentimes, if you do enough discovery, you realize that the patient has struggled with a journey between where they are or where they were and where they want to get to in terms of losing fat, in terms of fixing some features on their face, whatever it may be. Chances are that they were stuck in this limbo for a while. And so you are a consultant, a coach, and a mediator that's meant to get them to achieve their dreams. So look at yourself as that in case you have some negative associations with salesmanship and if you feel like you may be pushy. Because the mental game of it is definitely where you want to start in order to even want to dive into these things and be willing to specialize in the rhetorics and tactics, why not, behind some of these objection handlers. And so this is basically where we're going to start. We're going to look at how you can reframe objections entirely. Again, like I said, an objection is a sign of interest. If they didn't care, they would just leave. So it's a good sign. Expect them fully. Objections means that they're engaged. Silence means that they're gone. Again, a good sign. And so if your staff is hearing 0 objections, it means that they're not asking for the sale. That is the ultimate litmus test. Whenever we hear Medspa partners complain, well, not complain, just declare, report that they're not dealing with qualified enough leads, I'm not doubting it, I'm not denying it. It's possible. There's a possibility that that is happening. The way to know for sure is to look at the number of financing applications. And by the way, do not call it financing, call it payment plans, because there's a negative connotation and association with financing. Call it payment plans. And so besides that point, the question is, how many financing applications have there been made? If they get rejected, then of course that is an unqualified lead. But if they don't even attempt to apply for financing, then it's likely that they didn't even take the shot. They didn't try to score the goal. They didn't ask for the sale. They didn't pitch. They didn't handle the objections. They just let the lead go when they said, I need to think about it. I need to speak to my spouse, or any of these other objections that you're going to see in this video. And so your team needs to expect objections and get excited when they hear them, because it means the client is mentally buying. They just need help getting there. So what is the biggest category of objections that you're going to hear over and over again? It's time, delay, stalling objections. What do they sound like? Well, I need to think about it. Let me sleep on it. Let me pray on it. I need to do more research. Can I come back next week? Let me check my schedule. I want to look at other places first. Okay. What's really happening? Sure, sometimes this could genuinely be logistical, such as I need to look at my schedule. Easy to solve. Let's look at your schedule now. The reality of it is what's mostly happening is they're scared. They want it, but something's holding them back. Usually fear of making wrong decisions, fear of commitment, or unclear on value. And so another reason why this is in the end, Terry Ross, probably heard of her, celebrity, famous influencer, sales trainer in the Medspa space. She says that when someone says they need to think about it, what they're really saying is, I don't have enough information yet, or I don't trust this enough yet. Jeremy Miner on the flip side says, this happens when the gap between the current state and desired state isn't painful enough yet, or the solution isn't clear enough, which is why we train our team of appointment setters to create a gap between pain and pleasure, dream state and pain point, starting point. And so in that gap is where we sell. In that gap, the bigger the gap, the more we aggravate that pain, the more people are going to jump into it to try and feel it, to fill it in and to basically solve it. And so how do you handle it? You isolate the real objection, which is totally fair. Can I ask, when you say you need to think about it, what specifically do you need to think about? Is it the investment, the timeline, or something entirely else? And then they'll tell you the real objection. Now you handle that. They'll tell you what it is, and then you can deal with it. You're going to get different responses, so you really want to surface the real objection so you can handle that. Option 2 is future pace the delay, which is Terry Ross's approach. I completely understand, but let me ask you this. If you go home and think about it, what's going to be different 3 days from now that isn't already clear today? And I'll be the first to admit some of these things do sound salesy, even to me. And so if it doesn't feel like it's your natural personality, if you're not gelling with this approach, then by all means do not use it, because it's going to come across inauthentic and that is going to lose you the sale. And so that's why I've given you examples of different approaches from Cole Gordon, from Terry Ross, from Grant Cardone, other personalities as well, because you have to find your style. For example, when I started learning sales, I was told that you need to be extroverted and extremely vocal, and your tonality had to be all over the place. And that just wasn't me. That's not me. I'm an introverted thinking type of personality, and I persuade and convince with logical arguments and with a more quiet, subdued kind of confidence. And so if that's you, you got to find what fits for you, what works for you. Now, here's more example. Grant Cardone's way is, so what are you thinking about it? If you do decide to move forward, would you want to start in the next 2 weeks or wait until next month? This is again not a question of if, but rather when, because now they'll give you the real timeline, and then you can close them with a deposit, or maybe at that point they'll be like, yeah, actually, why wait 2 weeks? I'm going to do it now. And then another way is to take away the sale. You know what? This might not be the right time for you. And then you lean back so that they lean in. The clients who get the best results are the ones who are ready to commit. Right now, if you're not there yet, no worries. Maybe we'll revisit this in 6 months when you're more ready. And so we basically let them fill in that silence, close in that gap. That's another way of doing it. You lean out so that they lean in. Next category is decision authority, which is foil. And it's a foil objection. Whenever they say, I need to speak to my spouse, essentially they're relegating that responsibility on someone else. I need to talk to my husband. I need to run this by my partner. My spouse handles finances. Can't make the decision without checking with them. Again, some of these can be genuine, like their spouse can handle finances. How do you handle it? What it actually is, first and foremost, either they need genuine approval or they're using it as a scapegoat. And so again, why this is not the end is because if you let them without isolating the real concern, they're not going home to talk to their spouse. They're going home and they'll forget all about it. The spouse objection is a smokescreen 90% of the time. Your job is to find out what they actually think first. And these are your ways. You can either isolate it. What specifically are you going to be talking about? Is this something that you even want to? This is basically you tying them down. Yes, it's definitely something that I want to. All right, well, the spouse is not the real issue. If they hesitate, they're not sold yet. So then handle that first. So this, by the way, is called a tie down, like I just said. If you're asking, okay, fine, you want to talk to them. If they were to, if they were to be 100% on board with you, would you want to go forward with today? If they say yes, then they're tied down. If not, then you ask, why not? And then you surface the real objection. Involve the spouse. I love that you make decisions together. That's smart. So you acknowledge and you validate. Is your husband available to join us on a quick call right now? Pull the trigger. Speak to them now. That way I can answer any questions they might have to, and you two can make the decision together today. If they say no, it's a smokescreen. Redirect. Deflect it and basically go back to what they said they wanted to solve. So you told me that you wanted to do this, you wanted to achieve this, you wanted to solve this. Is this something that you're still committed to resolving? Yes, great. You have them tied down and then you resume selling from there. If they say yes, well, then you get them to speak to the spouse. Easy. 90% of the times they close just because they speak to them. It's not so much a question of permission as it is of respect. It's keeping them and bringing them in the loop of that decision, especially if it's a considerable amount. And then the next one is pre-framing the conversation, which is cool. You should go and talk to them. But this is now training them on how to handle it when they get home. So when you get home and explain this, what do you think the biggest concerns will be? They'll tell you what it is, and then you handle that concern so that they're armed for that conversation. Oftentimes, They'll tell you what it is. It's the money, or it's a vacation that they're planning, a holiday, and then you can handle it. And if you handle it well enough, then they'll close there and then. And if not, then at least they'll have the right frame to go to their spouse and actually win that conversation, win the argument, because otherwise they'll lose it. And so they won't sell. And so when they ask about that concern, here's what you'll tell them. And then equip them to sell their spouse. Cool. Next, reframe the dynamic. And so let me ask you this. Do you normally ask permission to invest in yourself? Like if you wanted to join the gym or buy new clothes, do you need approval? If they say no, well then how is this any different? This challenges them to own their decision. This works really well on alpha type personalities. Men way more often than women, but even women, the ones that are very self-directed, very independent and strong, they're the ones who tend to really respond to this one. And so this is investment in you, your confidence, your comfort, your happiness. I'm guessing your spouse wants you to feel good about yourself, right? Do they want to? Do they know that you're here? Will they support you? Yes, great. So you're not asking for permission. You're just letting them know you're doing something great for yourself. That's the way. Money, affordability. Again, this one could be real. That's too expensive, can't afford it, don't have that kind of money. It's way more than expected, and so on and so forth. If they ask for payment plans, that's an easy one. Give them the payment plans. Can you give me a discount? That's one where Terry, for example, would say, hold your ground, don't devalue your brand. Let's see how this is addressed. So they either don't see the value or it's real. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. And so what does Grant say? Money is never the objection. If they wanted it bad enough, they would find the money. If I told you, if you're into Lamborghinis, and if I told you there was one waiting outside your driveway, all you had to pay me was 5K. Would you find the 5K to pay me? You absolutely would, because the value is so disproportional to what you are actually being asked to pay for it. Clients who say it's too expensive are really saying, I don't understand why it costs this much. And so what you have to do is educate, not to defend. How? This is how. Jeremy would do it this way. I totally understand. Can I ask, when you say it's expensive, what are you comparing it to? They usually say, nothing, or a competitor, or just in general. If it's a competitor, you can ask, so why didn't you go with a competitor, just out of interest? And then they'll close themselves, because you guys have better reviews, because you're closer to my home, because I like you guys more. Okay, there you go. That's why we're more expensive. Okay, now the other way is continuing this train of thought. So let me ask you this. How much have you spent over the last 5 years on razors, makeup, other band-aids? Are you still dealing with a problem, right? And then you're reframing it. It's not an expense, it's an investment. Terry's way is, I hear you, let's break it down. The full package is X over 6 months, that's X per month, less than your cell phone bill, less than eating out twice a week. So this is chunking it down and making it tangible, which is why sometimes you see ads that say less than the price of a coffee per day or something like that. And here's the difference. The cell phone bill, you'll pay forever. This investment, you only pay once, and the problem is solved permanently. When you think about it that way, can you really afford not to do this? Cold would go with real talk, expensive compared to what, which is, again, it's an anchoring exercise, compared to staying uncomfortable in your body for the next 10 years, compared to still shaving every day for the rest of your life, compared to looking in the mirror and feeling insecure about your wrinkles, about your baggy eyes, about whatever problem. The people who think it's expensive are the ones who never actually solve the problem. The people who see it as an investment are the ones who look back months from now and say, I should have done this years ago. And then the last one is, I respect that. If you feel it's expensive, you're probably not the ideal client anyway. Again, I feel like that one's a bit aggressive, but I do think leaning back for them to lean in is probably a good idea. You know what? I respect that. If this feels expensive, completely understand. Step back. Where do you want to go from here? If you did a good job at tying them down, which is this the right thing for you? Do you feel like this is the right thing? Is this what you're looking for pretty much now? Are you ready to move forward with this? Money aside, yes. Then by the time you lean back, chances are they'll come in and they'll start proposing how to solve this for them. Can I have a discount? Can I get a payment plan? Can I pay a bit now and pay a bit later? That kind of stuff. Can I try a downsell? Can I try lower cost alternative just to get started and to get some traction. And so that's the reason why you want to take away and lean back. I don't really like this particularly. I feel like it's a bit too aggressive. I wouldn't do it, especially this feels too condescending. Left it here so you can see what bad potentially looks like as well. I'll let you be the judge of that. And payment plans, Terry Ross, Grant, everyone offers payment plans. The only thing you want to keep here is keep this in mind. If you're offering payment plans, don't just go straight to discounting, to splitting it into like 6 or 12, depending on how many months you have it spread across. Try and do a half pay. Try and do a 50% now, 50% later. Try and do a 60, 70% now and 30% later. Try and maximize cash up front where possible. Do not frame it as, I know it's a lot, so we have financing. Don't drop straight to that. Some clients prefer to spread the investment. We can do that if it's easier for you, but you want to tie it down. So assuming we can make the numbers make sense. Are you ready to move forward with us today? If they say yes, then you go to financing, because otherwise you'll go to financing, you'll work out the payment plans, and then they'll hesitate anyway. And if they do that and you tie them down, then you can call back and say, cool, so a few minutes ago, I felt like you were guns out, ready to go. What happened? I feel like something is holding you back. And when you do that, it's a gentle call out, then they'll tell you what it is again. And then the last one, this one's really light. How many sessions do I need? Package resistance objections. I only want one sesh. Why can't I come back? Can you choose that one more session? Other places that only need fewer sessions, and so on and so forth. Again, they don't understand it. This one is easy. You just need to educate them. This one is really a gift. Yeah, because they're interested but uneducated. Very easy one. If they're being pushy, the gap, again, is not big enough. Make the problem more painful, educate them. How? Again, let me explain why the full service is necessary. If you haven't done it yet, which by the way, we encourage you to do during the time you're giving them the service. And so you explain to them the steps in which hair growth in cycles, the fat cell metabolism, muscle memory, time it takes for microneedling and PRP to kick in, for stem cells to do their thing. And so if you only do one sesh, you'll see 20%. If that's enough, great. Would you say you're here for a permanent or a more temporary quick fix? And so my guess is you didn't come for 20%. You came here to solve the problem. Then contrast frame, you could absolutely do one sesh, but what happens when down the line you realize you haven't solved the problem? It's a sunk cost fallacy. You've now wasted money and time. And so you could commit to the protocol and then you are completely done. Terry Ross, I've been doing this for X years. She's calling to her authority. I can tell you with certainty, every client who's tried to do one sesh came back frustrated. Chances are you are dealing now with clients who did a sesh in the past and didn't achieve the result, and they're still here in the hamster wheel, spinning their wheels. And then the last one, here's the thing, not going to take your money for one sesh, knowing it won't give you the results you want. Again, pretty aggressive, won't recommend doing it that way, but I will say this, you can try and do an A/B close, which is, are you here to achieve a quick temporary fix, or are you here for permanent, long-lasting results? And so when they say that, you've basically leaned back out, they lean back in, and then you close them on what they say they want. This is a bonus one. I'm going to dive into this one into another video. It's about competitors, about why they charge less. And again, remember, when the best one here would be to get them to close themselves. This is absolutely one where I would lean back and ask, okay, cool. What do you think about them? Have you given them a try? Why didn't you go forward with them? And then they'll tell you. And then you say, that's why we're more expensive. My favorite one by far. And so practical tips, never defend the price, state price confidently and move on. Use silence as a weapon. Be comfortable to sit in silence, especially when you drop the price, because most closes happen in that silence. You need to give them time to do their consideration and deliberation. Do not fill it in awkwardly. You be comfortable with the silence so that they are the ones who rush in to fill the void, to fill the gap, and to essentially pay. Isolate the real objection. So find out what it is, get past the foils, get past the delay, the timelines, all of these smoke screens, and do not let them hide behind vague stalls. Educate, don't persuade. This is basically being a educator who's using rhetorics to get them to come to their own conclusions. Future praise both outcomes, both the successful positive one that they're here to achieve and the negative one. Assume the sale, which means when, not if, this or that, rather than yes or no. Be willing to walk away, lean out so that it can lean in. Use social proof constantly. Tell stories. Stories are super important. I'm going to make a video on stories alone. We have stories of Sally and Susie and Michaela who are just like them, who achieve the result that they want to achieve. Use those stories to prove the point with the authority that you borrow from them, because they trust the stories of someone just like them more than they trust the things that come out of your mouth. And so this is what your team needs to understand. This is what you need to understand, because at the end of the day, objections are a good sign. It means you're going in the right direction, and your goal should be to pitch, to drop the price, to stay quiet, to offer payment plans if you must, get financing applications way up, and also have multiple financing partners in place, by the way, because with each new application, the likelihood of approval goes way up, way up. And so these are the tips and tricks that I recommend you use to get your upsell rate to at least 40-50% on average. We have partners that upsell at 100%. It's totally possible. So do not think that 40% is the limit. It's just what you can expect realistically. Even 10-20%, what would 10-20% do for your business? Say you get 10 patients in the first 10 days of starting a new campaign, and you upsell one of them into your highest ticket treatment plan. That's where the asymmetric returns happen, and that's why you'll never hear me stop droning about sales and upsells and learning from our Medspa partners, distilling it into frameworks and bringing it here and sharing it with you. I hope this is useful, and if you want a breakdown of this, comment in this YouTube video and I will send you the entire methodology, the scripts that we utilize. You can always book a call with us at medspapatients.com. If you want us to review some of your consultation calls, you can anonymize them, HIPAA compliant, just record them with your voice note on your phone. Ask for permission if you want to, just say it's for training. More than happy to lend an ear, listen to them, point out what you may be doing wrong. Times and times again, we have found partners being way too technical, way too techno-babble, too teachy about the techniques and the tactics, when really all people want is reassurance, confidence, leadership, social proof, of course, and they want an expert to lead them to achieve the result that they've been trying to achieve by themselves for years and haven't quite been able to. To your success, hope this is useful. Until next time.